Welcome, or should I say Hoş geldiniz, to part 2 of our 2023 Turkish adventure. With the possibility of acquiring an apartment this time around next, and a whole lot of shopping and touristing out of the way, I would have the opportunity to get more flying in. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans. Thunderstorms, to be precise. Babadan was shut down for seemingly many days, although I think it was only 2 or 3. I would be in Ölüdeniz talking to Gena in Fethiye on the phone. How does it look? She would reaffirm, completely socked in at the top. So not to be ones to waste holiday time, we decided to do that 12-island boat tour after all. We went with the Princess Sra, and it seemed there was a wedding group or something, as everyone seemed to know everyone. In fact, I think we were the only non-Turks aboard. The stops were very beautiful, as advertised. The owner of the boat was particularly accommodating and attentive to us 2 tourists. I went swimming, naturally, and went ashore to explore a couple of the islands. Very nice indeed. On one island, everyone was going off onto a trail somewhere, but I noticed an angry little thundercloud coming and hurried back. It was quite a spectacle with shooting lightning and thunder. More than a few people got soaked. It was a relaxing change of pace, and the food and sights were marvelous. I had opted for the most expensive plate, a seafood dinner. One must when on the sea. I was going to follow others' examples of throwing food into the water, but didn't know if the fish were cannibals or not. They looked a lot like what I had just eaten. It just didn't seem right. On the way back, I was shown how to dance Turkish style, while the boat lurched and rocked quite a lot, and tried to throw us overboard. I must have made an impression, though, as several people came up to me after thanking me for dancing so nicely. I just soaked it all up, of course. But a lot of these aren't in the competition. You ready to set up?
Yeah.
Okay. A fellow BCite friend of a pilot friend of mine in BC showed up that day for an SIV course with Jockey Sanderson, the same instructor I had last year. He had 2 or 3 days to get accustomed to the mountain and the landing zone, but again, shutdowns and bad weather thwarted any effort he made to get a pre-SIV day flight in. One day we did make it up to launch, but my spidey senses started tingling. Better get set up to go. I saw a whole bunch of other people coming down onto the launch, and there was already tons of people there. I'm not sure if he heard me, but I was all ready to launch, and he hadn't even pulled his wing out yet. Being in the queue, I had little choice but to launch. Okay, well, I'm going. Take off! Turns out, shortly afterward, no one was able to launch as the cloud came in and completely socked in all the high launches.
Here's a cloud.
Some went down to the 1200 meter, but very few got off. It was a nice flight, and I soon realized the launches had been shut down because there was no one behind the few of us still heading away from the mountain. I made it a bit extreme as I was excited about doing a collapsed spiral like last year. This is a method of having a slower spiral with less G's, but still a good descent rate. So I collapsed the outside and went into a spiral. It locked in. I'd realized that the usual exit by adding some outside brake was no longer an option, so that happened instead. It just got away on me a bit.
Yeah. Holy shit, this was locked in.
Oh well, live and learn.
What's that? That's interesting.
So I finished off with some wingovers to reward my insolence. Anyway, I couldn't wait around to see what happened to Buddy because I had to get back to Fethiye to get Gena. It's her birthday today. I had attempted to plan out a lovely sunset feast atop Bazaar and, over a week ago, had called in to make reservations. Sure, she said, and the reservation was made, but just before I hung up the phone, I wanted to confirm this was for window seats. Oh no, those are all booked. I couldn't believe it, like 1 week ahead. Okay, so I cancelled. We would go up to the Tiki Beach restaurant instead. So as we were heading over there, we heard that they had to shut down the teleferic because of the storm up there and the wind, and everyone's reservations were cancelled anyways. I'll admit to feeling a bit smug. We watched some diehards flying off a sketchy-looking low 300-meter launch just to get a pair of pics. I had to excuse myself from Gena for a moment to go chat with them once they'd landed. They were a bunch of crazy Frenchmen, but most said they wouldn't do it again. Must be pretty sketchy. We had a lovely birthday meal and did indeed watch the sunset from the Tiki. Gena's big 7-0 was a success. We've double booked a hotel here in Ölüdeniz for a few days so we could keep our room in Fethiye and wouldn't have to haul all the stuff over. This is Gena's first time watching the shenanigans along the landing strip. It was fun watching her awe at the spectacle. I haven't seen a look on her like that for a long time.
Look at this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, make your way down to the Orange Bar and Cafe. We're on the left end of the beach. The World Acro Cup 2023 Super Final about to get underway.
The World Acro Comp has started, and I have my neck all massaged and some SPF 50 on my face in prep for the inevitable upcoming days of looking upward. That voice you can hear is my friend Steve. I didn't know it was him until he came and sat next to me in the Orange restaurant and said hi. I noticed he had a mic in his hand. I'd met him in 22 when I was here before. We had a history way back in 2009 at the same place in Vancouver. Small world. Great guy. This Acro Comp was intense as many competitors worth their salt were doing all their stunts while twisted. It takes an insane amount of skill to do this, and it's easy to forget. That snap to an infinity tumble was done while twisted.
He's gone two.
After watching these amazing pilots all morning, you start to feel more confident, and I will admit it, even though I stayed out of the box during the comp while flying myself, my perceived skill level doubled. There were a couple of times I got myself into a bit of trouble. Lucky I didn't think I could do a helico, or worse, an infinite tumble. After watching for so long, you really start to think you can, right? The TV coverage was great on the beach, but there was also coverage up on launch so we could see the next competing acro pilot launching 10 minutes before. I guess the cameraman thought I was competing, or just thought I looked interesting, so followed my launch.
down into Orange Beach Bar.
At the fade out, it appeared I had flubbed the launch, but I hadn't, as you can see in my helmet cam video here. Check it out.
Like partying at the top of a mountain.
So on the gondola the next day, I'm yapping with this guy and we're talking about sketchy launches. I guess, and I mentioned yesterday I had corrected a bad launch at the last second and ran over a loose rock to continue. He said, "Oh wow, that was you? We thought you had dumped the wing." Then, "No, I think she's going for it." I didn't know about the video at the time, so it was all pretty cool already. What a coincidence. With some added confidence came better landings.
I didn't want to face down.
So again, my belief that acro is my thing has been reinforced. Even just thinking I could do some of those tricks is such a rush, it fueled me right up.
Don't want dirt, don't want dirt, don't want dirt.
There have been some thermal moments here for me, but mostly I ignored them. I did try scratching this little peak, which is fun, as our hotel is right below it, and I was hoping Gena would come outside and start watching and maybe get some video. For the next few days, the launches would be very busy indeed. A little more stressful to launch when it's like this. Once you commit by spreading out your wing, it's when you feel pressure as there are so many behind you waiting. The 1700 launch isn't too bad as it is wide. But the 1800 or same direction 1900 launches are a lot smaller and more demanding of launching skills. Compound that with occasional crosswinds, as was today, and it can really ruin the mood. So to fix that, I like to try something new. Today, that's weight shift wingovers. Never done them.
Oh, geez, look at that. That's just weight shift wingovers, man. Almost down to the horizon, just off the weight shift.
That was interesting. Back to the Acro Cup. Theo de Blick, my YouTube mentor and superhero, was at the top of the standings, with the only possible pilot that could take away his title, Luc de Vels, returning from a serious injury in 2022. It was an incredible competition, and the stunts fierce and perfectly executed. The two, a total level above all the rest. After Theo landed, I just had to go down and congratulate him.
Incredible, Theo!
Wow, a fist bump. I'll never wash this hand again. Turns out Luke came in first place over Theo, just by a hair-width decision. It's academic, really. They both won.
coming into the park.
Just by chance, while looking for Jockey's SIV crew that my friend was on, there was a bunch of Rise SIV students in the pub behind. Theo was there, said hi, and they were handing out t-shirts to the students. I jokingly said, "So how much must you get over 250 points to get a free t-shirt?" Theo smiled and the guy gave me a t-shirt. Theo had come up short of Luke with something like 250.3 to Luke's 250.6. As I said, academic really. I was completely thrilled with the shirt, as you can imagine. I will be training with these guys. They are the best. The many other pilots in the comp, including Jockey's co-trainer Berkay, were exceptional.
4 into some tumbling. And lands right there, sticks at Berkay Nel from Turkey. What a great performance.
But one was so much younger, like 14 or 15, and was totally fantastic. He'll be the next Theo de Blick, everyone was saying. I agree. Once again, even though I already have been on an island boat tour from Fethiye, I'm eyeballing the pirate ships, day and night. As it turned out, once again I missed out on the partying and dancing to loud music while cutting through the sea to an entirely different set of islands to the other tour we were on, plus getting covered in foam and just feeling young and rebellious. Oh well, it'll happen next time, I'm sure. Or maybe the time after that. It does look fun. I didn't know it then, but my good flying days have been numbered by Mother Nature, and this became evident with a frustrating day of cat and mouse with the telepheric starting, then breaking down, then starting again. So everyone in Ölüdeniz could see it running, thus jumping on the packed dolmashes only to find it broken down once we got there. It didn't run through all the next day as a result. I thought to myself, this didn't happen last year. So most of us thumbed a ride up with tandem pilots and the rest with Infinity Paragliding, who called for a backup bus. That was very good of them, but I had forgotten how crazy and hair-raising that ride up can be. Flying around corners, nearly hitting buses coming down, narrowly avoiding a head-on collision with another bus, and visuals not unlike a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, left me, and a few others, pretty tensed up. I could see it on their faces. It's ironic that this strikes fear into most of the uninitiated. Yet not one of us would think twice about running off a mountain held up by some string and a nylon quilt. For some reason, perhaps no one saying "Durakta" to stop, we ended up on the very top of Babada at 1960 meters. The driver looked at me at 1700 meters like I know what's going on. As you can see, there's snow up here now. Note to others, marble walkways covered in snow? Go around. This, the northeast-facing launch, is a very short launch to abort, and the wind was light and switchy. Yuck. No one was actually going, and eventually everyone started packing up and walking over to the south launch. This one is even shorter, but had a light cycle of wind in the proper direction from time to time. I'll admit, I was pretty nervous on this one, and with these conditions. So much so I dropped my classic antique sunglasses while preparing, still in the case, somewhere up there. I have noticed while editing this video that you can see the case right here. I was unable to retrieve them or even get to the 1900 launch after this because of shutdowns. A breeze. Time to go. Take off. That wasn't so bad. Just not a good one to mess up a launch on, is all. Did you see those sharp boulders? This is a really different view launching from this point.
Yeah, I just couldn't do a forward launch.
The flight was fun, and I wanted to make it more active. I tried to do a foot drag coming in, but it was just a little too high. Oh well, practice, practice. Not all times were great, and not all landings were graceful. This one was like I hit an area of sink just on the final. Tandem rotor? I realized I had to reevaluate. That did not help my harness or my pride. This scraped up the airbag on my harness pretty bad and punched holes. I had to tape it up with duct tape so the bag would still work. I have since sewn on and glued a reinforced full-size patch made of Sunbrella, a very tough and durable material. As I watched, several other pilots coming in after hit this same anomaly. There was some gusts of wind, and I think the structures were causing some rotor action there. Still not sure.
Pretty sinky air right there. Guess I'm not the only one having a bad landing.
My buddy taking the SIV course was not having fun, as they had used up the rain day 2 days ago and looked to only be getting in one flight as well as today. That turned out false, as they had spent too much time this morning in the brief and ended up on 1200 meters again. No go. Poor buggers. The next day would be my last here before moving on, so I wanted to do some more serious acro moves. Well, for me. And do a first time ever chest cam view looking up at the wing. This proved to be a really silly idea because A, the chicken strap and everything else kept covering it, and B, the camera's angle would get knocked away continuously. So not a lot of my really big wing overs, spirals, collapses, or whatever else I couldn't see in the footage was recorded.
Oh, this strap is going to be a constant pain in the ass.
It was unfortunate as the leg strap worked pretty good last year. I don't know what I was thinking. I landed with a bit of time before needing to head back to Fethiye, so I schmoozed around the beach. I'd been invited to fly to Butterfly Valley, but looking at the sky...
Decisions. I'm supposed to be going to Butterfly Valley, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get off the top launch.
It appears it's already shut down.
I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to try. This is developing way too fast.
I was right not to bother going up, as 3 of the gang that did launch ended up turning back to Ölüdeniz. With my little wing, I might have ended up somewhere else and stranded.
I've already been there once before, so I'll let these guys try. I don't think they're going to make it, though.
I do enjoy hanging around the beach, though, and meeting other pilots. A British fellow came up to me out of the blue. "Are you Sandra in the sky?" he said. Wow, that felt strange to be in Turkey and be recognized by a complete stranger.
Yeah, I brought my...
Turns out he's here with a few buddies, but they were all leaving too. Shame. They seemed a lot of fun. Other people recognize me too. Guess I can't get away with anything even on the other side of the planet, pretty much. Also, I met many people, some of whom I still stay in touch with. Billy from Torrey Pines, Renee from the US, Ryan, whom I hung with during the Acro Cup, Ebbe from the hotel, whom I helped get his first tandem flight, Jenner, and others, I forget their names. I ran into another pilot I know from the BC interior, with whom I have flown every summer since I began my paragliding habit in 2019. What are the chances of that? He's also here for an SIV. I hope the weather is kinder on his flying days. Cheers, Andrew. While we stayed in Ölüdeniz, I got to experience some of the offbeat nightlife, which is probably a bit low-key at this time. Summer is probably when all the young people come. Nevertheless, I had fun this night. I will always cherish this place and will come back here as many times as I can in the future. Goodbye, Fethiye, Ölüdeniz, and Dalaman. See you again, or as the Turks would say, sonra görüşürüz. The flight from Dalaman to Istanbul was nice and uneventful. The hotel I found us, almost a museum piece itself, was right between the Blue Mosque and the Küçük Hagia Sophia Mosque. The room boasted implements one would see in a hammam or Turkish bath. I have no idea how old this place is, but it certainly is authentic with all its pluses and minuses. Mehmet Bey was a bit noisy, but mostly people partying on the roofs all hours of the night from what we could tell. It echoed down into our windows, so that had to be closed tight. Being so deep inside such a popular tourist spot, if not the most popular tourist spot in Istanbul, going out for any reason was always an adventure. We would be canvassed continually by restaurateurs and travel tour salesmen, well, for the first couple of days until we became commonplace to them. Even so, we enjoyed some amazing meals and some incredible views. To newlyweds or any young lovers, this would be so romantic. But with us being old, though, it was more like trying to decide how angry Gena would be at me for booking a table at the top of 10 flights of stairs. I think it was all worth it. Prices were high, but I figured we're only here for a few days and may never come here again. This is Constantinople, for F's sakes. Let's enjoy it. That said, I decided to entrust the owner of the restaurant next door with payment for our tickets for a boat tour up the Bosphorus in cash. You see, the guys at our hotel kept telling us, no, there's no more seats on the boat, and showing me brochures for the much more pricey adventure tour in Bursa, involving a gondola up to a ski resort. I told him, no, I've already been on enough gondolas and up enough mountains. I want to go on a boat ride. Being Russian, he pretended not to understand. Anyway, when I mentioned this to our new restaurateur friend, Baki, he said, oh, that's just a scam to get you to take a tour where they will get more kickback money. His friend is there reassuring me while bringing me tea. I was thinking then, uh-oh, scamorama. Well, turns out that in real Turkey, not Mediterranean beach tourist Turkey, they bring tea for any sit-down or meet and greet. It's tradition, we later discovered. So the next day we went to get picked up for the boat tour. I was thinking, I really hope that guy was on the level or Gena's probably going to hit me. I was picturing a van taking us to some adjacent country to extract our organs or sell us as sex slaves. Okay, you can pause the video until you finish laughing. So sure enough, a bus showed up full of tourists and away we went to Eminönü docks. Turns out Baki was on the level, and he does indeed know all the touring companies as we got a good deal too. Yay! I've always wanted to do this. It's a Bosphorus tour up to the Black Sea. Plus, on this tour, we get to disembark for an hour on the Asian side of Istanbul. The lunch was first class, so I ate some of Gena's too. It was windy and the Sea of Marmaris was spicy, but that didn't sway us old salts.
So it shows
the tour guides were exceptional and had Turkish, English, Russian, and German speakers.
Bosphorus channel, it connects Europe and Asia. It is called 15th July Bridge. Before the name was Bosphorus Bridge, maybe you know that in 2016 there was a military coup attempt against the
Once we got off on the Asian side, the lower prices were really noticeable, about 1/4 of what you would pay near the Blue Mosque. But my Turkish coffee was rather pricey, about $3, where in Fethiye it's only $1.50. It was really good, as they are, even though I had to drink it fast to get back to the boat. While I was off doing coffee shooters, Gena stayed down by the water and encountered a young brother and sister playing violins, while their mother sat nearby tending to a smaller youngster. Gena thought they were rather good and seemed determined to play well together, so gave them each a tip. I can't remember how much it was, but they were very happy and ran over to show Mum. Did Gena start something? We'll never know. Gena has a big heart and is always giving money to the less fortunate. I do too, to an extent, having been on the other side for a few years and knowing what it's like. From out in the strait we could see the odd-looking Camlıca Tower, which is an impressive architecture. At 1,000 feet, the view from up there must be something else. The restaurant is probably lower, but still, looks pretty fancy. Once we reached the dock to find our bus, we certainly felt we had experienced some of Istanbul. This was one of the good tours. Baka arkadaşım, bizden teşekkürler, if you ever see this. A new day and a new sight on the menu, the Blue Mosque. Gena has wanted to visit these mosques since I have known her. I was blue curious myself, I must admit. Both the Blue and the Hagia Sophia mosques are super close to our hotel, so we just walked over early and joined the long lineup. It's probably best to beat the constant procession of tour buses, though, which we watched going by while eating breakfast. Where are they all going, do you suppose? Live and learn. In order for a woman to enter any mosque in Turkey, she must cover any bare skin and the legs and arms, and wear a scarf or hijab. Gena is a hijab veteran now, but for me, this is a total first. What do you think? My color? The inspector at the gate just shooed us through, while people behind us were stopped. They will lend you a scarf, but I'm not sure about a long-sleeved shirt, which I borrowed from Gena, as I had packed none. Upon entering the Blue Mosque, one can't help but be awestruck. It is truly an impressive piece of history with a colorful history. Not blue, sorry about the pun. I won't go into it here, but just check it out. It's not what you think. Gena looks very happy to be here. I was amazed by the intricate marble carvings adorning every pillar and the sheer size of the dome. Here's the washing area outside, still functional, and go figure with similar taps to the ones in our hotel, believe it or not. It isn't proper to enter and pray with dirty hands, face, or feet. On exiting, we saw how long the lineup was now. Best to be early. Some tour companies say that if you book with them, you will be placed in a special line because you paid extra. This is completely untrue. In fact, at the time, entry was a donation. We have seen that a couple of months ago things have really changed with both the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia, so please investigate before going. By the time we came out, it was around noon, so we decided to walk on over to the legendary Grand Bazaar. I have had friends tell me, oh, you don't want to go without seeing the Grand Bazaar. So off we went, a 20-minute walk tops from the mosques. That's why the old area is really good, so close to everything. We were astounded by the size, selection, and beauty of this ancient world's largest shopping mall. It really is not to be missed. You could spend a week in here and still not see everything, I swear. Normally I'm not big on shopping, but this made me excited to buy a place in Turkey, so I could come here to get stuff for our new place. That's not me at all. Gena, on the other hand, is usually happy to be shopping, but her leg packed it in, so we had to cut our visit short. Nonetheless, we now know where to go to get pretty much anything you never knew you wanted. We found this lovely Sultan's graveyard / garden called Amak Tevfik Pazamazara that had a cafe that makes the absolute strongest Turkish coffee I've ever had. We stopped there for a rest, not really knowing what it was to start with, and ended up going there 2 or more times after that. After I had a coffee, I was dancing down the sidewalk, being a total fool as we wandered down a shortcut of streets that made the rest of the afternoon interesting, especially when we lost the GPS coordinates of ourselves for a while. I've never felt so amazing after a cup of coffee. The next day was slated for the Hagia Sophia Mosque, the biggest mosque, opposite the Hagia Sophia at the other end of our street, also named Hagia Sophia Caddesi, which is street. That's a small mosque. We went early, so the crowds were much less, and unfortunately the sky was heavily overcast with morning cloud, which means it will be dark in the mosque. One thing that was immediately noticeable, well, besides the darkness, was so much quieter here than the Blue Mosque. Not sure why. The Hagia Sophia was a church for many hundreds of years. Then the Ottoman Empire changed it into a mosque. Then with Ataturk converted it into a museum until just a couple of years ago, where it became a mosque again. Up until a few years ago, it was the biggest church in the world.
Definitely bigger.
Gena moves the phone camera too much for the dark interior, so many of her photos of me were blurred, unfortunately. But then there's my pictures to save the day. Plus the GoPro, which captures more with the wide angle. The huge urns pictured here were carved out from a single piece of marble and were used to hold holy water. So amazing. Once you visit these mosques, you see what all the fuss is about. They are truly a record of historical achievement in all their beauty and glory. Plus they are still in use today. The intricacy is astounding.
This is our last meal in Istanbul.
In order to adjust our tummies for the onslaught of Western food soon to follow, we opted to eat out at the Sunrise Hotel Restaurant, which is a quasi-Western menu. I had a nice bowl of mushroom soup and a big delicious hamburger with goat cheese, while Gena had 2 bowls of tomato soup with cheese, and we shared a plate of real fries to boot.
Mushroom soup, so
A very good supper for our last evening. I went down to the waterfront and watched locals fish and banter. I can see the appeal of living here. The city has charm, mystery, huge diversity, and a beauty all of its own. There's so much we didn't see in the short time we spent here, so one day we will return. We woke up early in preparation to catch a taxi to the airport, a driver custom ordered by Baki. While sitting drinking our morning chai, a hornet stung my thumb. What is it with me and hornets? Last year while hiking, I stumbled into a nest and was stung 42 times. Also stung while riding a bike before that. And since then, I've been stung 4 or 5 times, once on the tongue even. So just bad luck? Or they really like me? I was a bit nervous about whether Turkish hornets are different than North American hornets as we jumped into the taxi. I guess they're not. My thumb swelled up pretty bad, but it was only an annoyance. The Istanbul airport in all its immenseness wasn't as threatening as before, but still formidable and not to be messed with. It's a good idea to try to guess the gate, because if you're on the wrong side of the airport when it comes up on the board, you could be in for a fast-paced 15-minute walk. With Gena's leg issue, this could become a real problem. The security lineups at the gates are so long and slow, they barely finish before flight time. Luckily, our gate wasn't far at all, and we could relax and enjoy our last hours in Turkey with a chai. Goodbye, Turkey. Başka gün görüşürüz. After returning to cold Canada, we kicked back at my parents' place on the island and rested up before the final leg of our journey home. By some divine intervention, masses of pilots converged on Vancouver Island's Mount Prevost landing zone, and flying ensued. I had been hoping for one last flight before returning home and was not disappointed. Many familiar faces appeared, while others I hadn't yet met but followed over the summer on the West Coast Soaring Club chat were also present. It really was one fine flying meet as we prepared to launch in beautiful but questionable launch conditions. Smiles all around. As we packed our wings, conversations arose about our summer experiences and camaraderie shone. I am so honored to be part of this amazing community of local pilots, international pilots from everywhere, and part of a family of like-minded intrepids. Cheers to the day. Cheers to the sport. Cheers to life.
That was really cool. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for watching.
İçin hamburger in Istanbul. İstanbul'da hamburger yemek. I could eat another. A baby, my brother. Cat crazy, have a heart attack. It's time to go back to where it's cold. Çok soğuk, çok karlı ve rüzgarlı. I could stay here for another week. Our trip is about to take us farther. Oh, I don't wanna go home. Gitmek istemiyorum. I don't wanna go home. Gitmek istemiyorum. Çok yakında. Not good, huh? I don't wanna go home. Gitmek istemiyorum. I don't wanna go home. Gitmek istemiyorum. Çok yakında. Not good, huh?